stunning finding. Positive mindsets give our health a huge boost. So, what does the Bible say about that? It says this in Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart is good medicine. And science has proven that verse to be true in trial after trial. Let's take a little deeper look at the power of our thoughts and our hearts. Welcome back to Come Alive and Thrive with me, Karen Williams. I'm on a mission to inspire ordinary women to become future world changers by starting their own God-inspired business and getting healthier along the way. Let's get into today's topic. Buckle up. This is your great adventure. Today, I'm going to tell you the best kept secret in the health industry. Something most people don't want you to know. The Bible actually outlines for us how to maintain good health even in this sick world. And science is in complete agreement with the Bible. The secret is already inside of you, and it's either making you sick or it's keeping you well. What is it? It's your thought life, your level of stress, and it's those hidden, unprocessed emotions. Sound too simple? Let me show you the evidence, and you'll wonder why you never knew this. When it comes to health, America's not doing so well. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that more than half of Americans have at least one chronic disease. Yikes. And roughly 27% have multiple chronic diseases. We are not okay. The good news is that most of these chronic illnesses can be greatly improved and even reversed with simple lifestyle changes. Changing your lifestyle isn't easy, but we'll walk through it together, and you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much joy, happiness, and health can come from these simple changes. Listen, God Himself created your body. He knows everything about it. He knows how it works, and He did not leave us high and dry or completely ignorant about how to take care of it and how to get better when we're sick. In fact, the Bible is an owner's manual on how to take care of ourselves. Here's some things the Creator says about health. I'm going to read you some scripture. This is Proverbs 3:1-2. Do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of life and peace will they add to you. I don't know about you, but I would love some instruction on how to live a long and peaceful life, especially in a world that feels anything but peaceful. God actually has a lot to say about life and health. Here's another verse. My son, give attention to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Do not let them depart from your sight. Keep them in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them. And listen to this, health to the whole body. That one's Proverbs 4:20-22. Our life and whole body will be healthier if we just pay attention. Just in case you find this too hard to believe, here's some more verses. This one's Proverbs 23:7. For as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. Another one, Proverbs 27:19. As in water, face reflects face, so the heart of man reflects man. Another one in Proverbs 4:23. Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. Okay, so what does all this mean? God isn't saying that we can just read scripture and become healthier. I wish that were true. He is saying that the involvement of the heart is integral to health and long life. So let's take a look at what God means when He says heart. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and it's helpful to examine the Hebrew definition. The Hebrew word for heart in these passages is leb, L-E-B, which can be interpreted inner man, mind, soul, understanding, conscience, thinking, and emotions. So when the Bible talks about heart, it's important to not just insert the Western definition of heart and assume God's talking about our emotions or our affections. Heart in the Bible includes emotions, but it also includes conscious thinking, subconscious thoughts, attitudes, our sense of identity, our personality. Heart refers to the innermost man. Who are you on the inside, including all of those thoughts rolling around in there? That internal inner man or inner woman, the heart, is the seat of health and it's the seat of illness, according to both scripture and science. So, what does science say? Well, let me show you. This is brain science for Bible nerds. Okay, I just love this. Medical research estimates that roughly 90% of all chronic illness and disease is caused by stress. It can lead to high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, elevated blood sugar levels, cancer, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, and a whole host of autoimmune disorders like arthritis, lupus, diabetes, and MS. Yikes. While it's good to treat the symptoms of these illnesses, the most important thing we can do is to get to the root cause. Now, stress is a polite and socially acceptable word that describes a myriad of negative emotions. Think about this. Work is a common source of stress. So think about any work-related stress you've had in the past. Were you stressed about meeting a deadline, keeping up with too much work, maybe disappointing your supervisor or dealing with unhappy customers? If we removed the word stress and replaced it with the emotion of fear and said afraid, would it be just as accurate? Maybe afraid of missing a deadline, afraid of disappointing your boss, afraid of having to handle the negative emotions of an unhappy customer? If we refer to these stressors as fear, would we be closer to the heart of the issue? Regardless of how you prefer to categorize stress, it is essential that we correctly identify our emotions. Now, our society tends to think of stress in terms of outside influences that negatively impact us, and those exist. But the root cause of stress is how we react to those outside stressors. It's imperative that we become more familiar with what's going on in our thought life, because that is where stress lives. Now, consider for a moment that not all of our stress originates from outside sources. Much of us is embedded in our own personality traits and character. Traits like perfectionism, people pleasing, low self esteem, stoicism, or nihilism are internal characteristics that can set the stage for very stressful lives. Okay, so how does this stress impact our bodies? Our nervous system consists of our brain and all its extending nerves. It's considered the control system for the rest of the body. Some parts of the nervous system can be controlled with deliberate thought. For instance, how you're listening to these words right now. But other parts of our bodies are controlled without us having to think. For instance, you're maintaining your heart rate, your breathing, and body temperature all without conscious thought. It's very important to understand that most of the brain's activity happens below our level of awareness. Science estimates that 90 to 95% of the brain's activity happens at the subconscious level. Why does that matter to us? Because most of our thoughts are happening without us even being aware of it. In other words, a myriad of thought patterns can be going on, a reoccurring loop, without us being fully aware, and this affects us physically. It's true in the Bible, and it's true in science. Okay, so here are some confessions from the cranium. In her book, Switch on Your Brain, cognitive neuroscientist Dr. Carolyn Leaf explains that a belief is a reoccurring thought pattern, And as such, it can take on a physical existence within our bodies. Reoccurring thought patterns create proteins within the brain. These proteins form patterns that take on the appearance of trees. These neurothought trees create paths in the brain, and they can make rethinking these thoughts easier and faster every time we think it. Repeated thoughts reinforce the protein tree. Thoughts are not merely fleeting electrical impulses. They're real physical things that occupy mental real estate. The more we think a thought, the faster and easier it becomes to engage in that same thought due to the formation of these protein thought trees in the brain. Think about that for a minute. The more we ruminate on negative past events, the more our brain becomes conditioned to think that way. The more we engage in positive, uplifting thoughts, the more our brain is conditioned to think that way. Either way, our brains are physically changing to accommodate those positive or negative thoughts. So, like, even our neurons need Jesus, you guys. But why do we really need to care about negative, stressful, fearful thinking? Remember that roughly 90% of chronic illness is the result of stress. And stress is how we think about what's happening around us, as well as what we think about ourselves. Toxic thoughts lead to toxic habits. Healthy thoughts lead to healthy habits. Our thoughts have a direct effect on our physical bodies as well as our brains. Research has found that our DNA can actually change according to our thought patterns. Let me say that again in case I lulled you to sleep. Your DNA can change according to what your reoccurring thought patterns are. That's stunning. Negative thoughts occurring over a long period of time can switch on previously dormant genes and potentially lead to disease. The good news is that this is reversible when we engage in improved mindsets. Another study showed that people who regularly meditate is just controlled directed thinking, okay, showed improved cognitive functioning, increased feeling of peace, improved immune function, improved cardiovascular health. Whoa. The power of the mind on our health, for better or for worse, is stunning. The Institute of Heart Math conducted a study that found that thinking and feeling anger, fear, and frustration cause DNA to change shape according to those thoughts and feelings. The DNA responded by switching off many codes, which reduced quality expressions. This same institute conducted a study and found that HIV positive people who had positive thoughts and feelings were, get this, 300,000 times more resistant to the disease than those with fewer positive feelings. This is a stunning finding. Positive mindsets give our health a huge boost. So what does the Bible say about that? It says this. In Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart is good medicine. And science has proven that verse to be true in trial after trial. Let's take a little deeper look at the power of our thoughts and our hearts. Have you heard of the placebo effect? A placebo, by definition, is an inert ingredient that has no power in itself. Placebos are given in double-blind scientific studies, and that placebo group is a group of people who are not given the actual medication, usually just a sugar pill or a saline injection that had nothing of effect in it. Placebos have been giving scientists fits for years. Some scientists have decided to start studying the placebo effect, and what they're finding is shedding light on how thinking affects us physically. One surprising study was conducted by an orthopedic surgeon who was getting good results on patients who were experiencing knee pain from osteoarthritis. And he was doing arthroscopic surgery, and these people were getting better. So he decided to do a double blind study. One group received his arthroscopic surgery, and the other group went through the exact same surgical prep, but they received only an incision that was then sewn up. No actual surgery was given to correct the osteoarthritis in that other group. This study showed that both groups reported similar improvement after surgery. In other words, patients who didn't even get the actual surgery showed the same improvement that the surgical group received. This was a stunning surprise to the researchers. And it brought more understanding to how thinking improves our outcomes. If we just expect to get better, our body responds by getting better. Similar to the placebo effect is the nocebo effect. While placebo groups show improvement, nocebo groups get worse. A study conducted by the British Stomach Cancer Group, looking at the effectiveness of a new chemotherapy treatment, gave 411 participants treatment, and they told them that this chemotherapy treatment could cause nausea and hair loss as potential side effects. What they found was that more than 30% of recipients suffered hair loss and 56% experienced vomiting. But get this, all 411 patients were given placebo. Their hair fell out of their head, not from a drug, but because they expected to experience hair loss. That's amazing. So, what's the point? The point is that what gets into our heart and mind is more responsible for our health than we've ever been taught. Okay, I know I dumped a lot of science and scripture on you. I totally geek out when I see science supporting or explaining something the scripture says. Don't get overwhelmed and think, well, I'm screwed now. I've been thinking negative thoughts my whole life. I thought the same thing, and I've got you. We'll walk through this together, and I'll show you in future episodes how to start identifying the root cause of your health issues and how to make getting healthy easier than it's ever been. Don't miss my next episode in the series Survive to Thrive in 12 Weeks, where I spill the tea on the real reason we struggle with weight loss. You won't want to miss that episode. Okay, that's all for now. Remember, this one life is your great adventure. I bless you with a saltiness in your life that makes people around you thirsty for living water.